Acorn TV, proud sponsor of Just Seen It, offers hundreds of hours of British mysteries, dramas, and comedies streaming commercial-free on demand. Learn about our 30-day trial at acorn.tv/PTV. On this episode of Just Seen It, we review the comedy based on true events, Philomena.
Philomena explores truth, fiction, and the stories we tell ourselves.
The dramedy starring Vince Vaughn, Delivery Man.
The French-Canadian film Starbuck gets a Hollywood makeover starring Vince Vaughn.
We chat with Barkhad Abdi, co-star of Captain Phillips.
He will always give me details if I stuck or, I mess up.
And we return to Panem for the Hunger Games, Catching Fire.
Katniss, the archer, is back, but does she hit the bullseye?
All right here on Just Seen It. Philomena Lee was a pregnant teenager who was forced to give up her child. 50 years later, she sets out on a search to find him.
I'd like to know if Anthony ever thought of me. I've thought of him every day.
She is joined by a jaded journalist who wants to write about her quest in Philomena.
Hi, I'm Liz.
I'm Lisa.
And I'm Sean. Next up is Philomena, based on a true story. We've all just seen it. Liz, what'd you think of Philomena?
The only thing that I can think of that's off about this film is the title, because everything else is really good. I mean, it has great direction, great performances, a well-established script that plots the events of the story very well, but I just can't grab hold of the title.
I never thought about that until you just brought it up, but you are absolutely right. Most people can't even pronounce it.
No.
And it's such an engaging film, it needs a more engaging title.
So one of the actors here, Steve Coogan, also co-wrote the script with Jeff Pope. It's based on a book by the character that
Martin
Sixsmith that Steve Coogan plays. And it's just really interesting to see a true story play out in the sort of mysterious ways that this film does, and not in a way that you would necessarily expect. You hear about this movie, about this little old Irish lady searching for her long-lost son, and you don't necessarily think that it's going to have the revelations that this movie does. And that's really part of what keeps this film interesting for the entire haul.
This is a story that was very prominent, and his book was a decent seller. So a lot of people know where the movie's going, yet still there are revelations throughout and really poignant moments, which is also a testimony to the acting abilities of Judy Dench and Steve Coogan.
The film almost ventured into being anti-Catholic. I mean, it sort of hints on that.
You were sensitive to those things, though.
No. But no, it's the Abbey that's shown in this movie of nuns is not the Abbey in The Sound of Music. Let's just put it that way. But there is a central faith in the character of Philomena. She remains Catholic throughout her life, and she's very strong with her faith, and that actually allows her to go on this journey maybe more than anything else. So I thought that was a nice touch to sort of bring it back to being centralized with her character.
And the end of the film reinforces a diplomacy towards religion. It's not necessarily pro-Catholic or anti-Catholic. By the end of the film, you see the reason why she keeps her faith and the reason why Martin Sixsmith doesn't necessarily believe.
So Judy Dench, of course, is the star of our film, playing Philomena Lee, and she's just had a great string of performances. She played M in several Bond pictures, my favorite, and here she is again with a performance that could potentially lead to another Oscar nomination.
I had a hip replacement last year, Martin.
Right.
It's much better than the bone one I had before.
Yes.
And it's titanium, so it won't rust.
Oh, it's a good job, otherwise I'd have to oil you like the Tin Man.
Is that right?
Judy Dench's passion to find her son is what carries you through. I mean, the fact that she cares so much makes you care about finding her son. And I would say any other actress would probably make this film falter along those lines if they hadn't given such a good, strong performance.
Judy Dench's character, Philomena, had such a huge heart and was willing to forgive and overlook so much that I think that sort of softened the message against the Catholic Church and perhaps refocused it on this one particular abbey. It didn't ever give the impression that it was a church-wide policy that had really gone wrong in her case.
We have a very cynical performance from Steve Coogan, who brings a levity to the story and a levity to the performances that balances out everything.
Now, I've seen him do so much broader comedy that it was really fun to see him a little more reserved, and his was all about the reaction rather than the action, and I liked his character's snark. It was the perfect foil for Judy Dench. It made it a little bit of a buddy comedy.
It did, and most of the real jokes of the film come from Judy Dench, and it's really just the reactions of Steve Coogan with that sort of dry wit that makes it even funnier in a way.
And then towards the end, she finds out that the stable girl has designs on Robert. But before that, the father with the 1 foot dies, and he says to Robert, follow your heart.
Yeah, that sounds like a real page turn.
Well, you can borrow it.
That's okay.
No, I finished it now.
I feel like I've almost read it.
At 72, Stephen Frears is still at the top of his game, whether he's directing some grand historical piece like Dangerous Liaisons or just a small, intimate film like Philomena.
The coincidences don't feel false. You know, this is a story that is filled with very strange coincidences and overlapping events, and the way it's plotted and the way it's directed, it feels authentic and true to life yet again.
One thing maybe Stephen Frears doesn't get enough credit for is his performances from female actresses. You go back to Dangerous Liaisons, you had great performances there. The Grifters, 2 Academy Award nominations for that film. Helen Mirren won an Oscar, of course, for The Queen, which he directed. And here we've got another one with Judi Dench. And he's just finding great performances from women. He's directing women extremely well. It's just great to see that.
It's a really charming movie about repression, revelation, and redemption. I say see it.
Philomena is a nice marriage of story, directing, and cast. See it.
Philomena is a nice excursion featuring another one of Judi Dench's fine performances. See it. Cheers.
Cheers.
To the Irish.
Hear, hear.
David Wozniak is a good-natured underachiever content with his life.
I need order in my life. And this is order?
But a mistake at a fertility clinic made him the father of 533 children.
My genes were on a professional basketball court tonight.
When 142 of them file a lawsuit to meet him, his life is turned upside down in Delivery Man.
Hi, I'm Lisa.
I'm Zoriana.
And I'm Sean. Next up is Delivery Man, starring Vince Vaughn. We've all just seen it. Lisa, did this movie deliver for you?
It did. I really liked it, which surprised me. I fell for the film because it was amusing, it moved me, and it was full of surprises in that it starred Vince Vaughn. I was not expecting this from a Vince Vaughn film.
The concept was brilliant. The fact that a guy, has 533 children that he doesn't know exist is brilliant. But I wasn't as moved because I thought that they really showcased too many kids for me to actually feel connected to any one of them.
I did think that it had some heart to it, and I was surprised at both the performance by Vince Vaughn and just the sort of Vince Vaughn vehicle that this movie became. I just think that the script doesn't quite get there all the way. I was kind of rooting for it, and it sort of stumbles, and one of the things it stumbles with is the fact that we have so many characters to get through. It doesn't do them all justice.
At a certain point, the film becomes just one kid after another and learning their life story and how he helps them through. And you're just sort of wondering, well, how many kids are we going to go through until we actually continue on with the rest of the plot?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to declare you the father.
Yes!
No, David, wait. I'm going to declare you the father on probation.
I agree. I think it could have been tightened a little with just a few less introductions of his children. But I thought the real strengths were the big crowd scenes when all the kids were together. And that's when I really felt this movie, when they were all interacting with each other.
The cast here I thought was pretty good. Vince Vaughn gave me a performance I've been waiting for Vince Vaughn to give me. He's been doing all of these comedic roles that just seem like he's the same person over and over again, The Internship, on and on. He started with dramatic performances in movies like the remake of Psycho, and I think he's finally got a character he can sink his teeth into with this movie.
Which is what exactly? I mean, what is this revelatory performance?
I think he actually has an arc. He actually has something to play. He's a different character at the end of this movie than he is at the beginning of this movie. There is some emotion involved with his character. It's not just, I can do my Vince Vaughn shtick.
I commend him for trying to branch out to something a little bit more tender. And yes, there are tender moments in this film, but he was, again, a man-child here. He did start off that way. Yes, there was a little bit of change. It gave us a little bit of the glimpse of, maybe a different Vince Vaughn, but I don't think he fully committed.
What I appreciated about his performance, though, is he was the perfect everyman. He was someone that I think a lot of people could relate to. And the rest of the cast, I liked about that, too. Nobody overshadowed anyone else. He just looked like a pudgy, everyday, ordinary guy.
So I've been thinking that we could plead insanity.
What?
I don't know. Maybe you would not be held responsible for actions taken while mentally unstable. I mean, we could bank on your mental problems.
I don't have mental problems. I don't have mental problems!
When we're in court, I want you to say it exactly that way.
Yeah, I was surprised at how similar this film was to the original Starbuck, but when you consider you have the same writer and director, all he did was translate his film.
I don't know too many directors who would actually want to remake their own movies. I think they'd prefer to move on to something new and fresh. But I think Ken Scott was pretty smart to insist on directing the remake, because when you have a little French-Canadian film with no stars that no one saw, well, when Hollywood comes calling, you'd be stupid not to insist on being in charge. And of course, it's gonna pay off for him big time, because more people are gonna see this version than they would ever see his, so it's just a good career move for him. It's paying off already. He's doing another movie with Vince Vaughn right now.
I liked the original just a little bit better, filmed in Montreal. It was a little grittier. It felt a little more sincere. The lead actor that had the Vince Vaughn role, he reminded me of a young Gerard Depardieu.
I haven't seen Starbuck, so I don't exactly know how to compare it. I know that Starbuck was a bit of a festival film in Canada, and here it's now translated into a big Hollywood production. I do feel that elements feel very Hollywood in it. The finale feels a little bit just, it's that nice Hollywood grand ending, and I feel that if you really took this premise and went all the way with it, you would probably not wind up at the conclusion that we wind up in this film. And those are the elements that just make the film not quite feel perfectly genuine to me, that I can say, yeah, this is something to go see.
This film does have a few little issues, but it ultimately delivers warm laughs and tender emotion. I say see it.
Some nice moments that hint at a deeper Vince Vaughn, but these man-child roles are getting a little bit tired. Stream it.
Delivery Man has the goods, just not quite enough of them for a full recommendation. I say stream it.
So our votes add up to 2 full tickets, which is a stream it for Delivery Man.
Cheers.
This week, my critic's pick is the documentary Running from Crazy.
My grandfather, Ernest, is one of the greatest writers of the 20th century, and yet he suffered tremendous mental illness. I come from 7 suicides, perhaps more.
My sister, Margot, was obsessed with the whole mystery of Ernest Hemingway. I love bullfighting, I love great wine, I love great living.
This is my grandfather's house. He spent a lot of time there writing, and that's where he took his life.
The film follows actress Mariel Hemingway, granddaughter of literary great Ernest Hemingway, as she tries to make sense of the mental illness and suicide that has plagued her family for generations. Koppel never delves into why this family was so plagued. There are no psychiatrists or literary greats chiming in with their 2 cents. But revealing family footage shot by Margot when she was still alive and present-day interviews continue to feed our fascination with the Hemingway family. Running from Crazy opened in select theaters November 1st. It will air on the OWN network in 2014.
Listen up. We have been boarded by armed pirates if they find you. Remember, you know the ship, they don't.
Hi, I'm Leah.
I'm Barkhad Abdi.
I'm Zoriana, and welcome to Just Seen It. We have a really special guest today, Barkhad Abdi from Captain Phillips. Thank you so much for coming on to the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, talk about a life-changing performance for you, a career-changing performance for you. What were you doing a year ago at this time?
I was a limo driver.
A limo driver.
My brother owned a limo company, so he gave me a job.
So when they came to town and said that they wanted to audition young men to play the parts of these pirates, what made you decide that this is something that you wanted to just go for it and do?
First of all, it's Tom Hanks' film, you know. That was a big motivation for me. And the second thing was, like, they came to my neighborhood. You know, that was where I used to play basketball at for years.
Right.
So I was like, they came a little too close.
For you to not recognize the sign, right?
Yeah, so I was like, you know, I have to give it a shot, you know, just try it out. If I don't get it, it's no problem, you know, then I'm not gonna be like, I didn't try it, why?
Do you remember when the whole incident happened with the Maersk and the hostage-taking situation? Did you remember hearing about it in the news at the time? And if so, you know, what were your thoughts in the Somali community there?
I watched it right on CNN when it happened, and it was just, I was really fascinated by it. That true story was, I actually kept track of it and, you know, watched everything just being unfolded. The Navy come, they saved Captain Phillips. But, you know, the whole piracy thing was just really fascinating to me, you know. Like, as Somali people, you know, it was just bad stuff to say about it, you know, and we had enough.
The moment you first came face-to-face with Tom Hanks, what was happening in your mind?
You know, that was the first time that I meet Tom. It's the first time we, you know, meet in the film. We was disappointed at first, me and my friends.
How so?
Because we wouldn't see Tom, and, you know, we was told that we're not gonna see Tom. And then I understood, you know, like, how big the scene is. It was the same scene we did the audition. It's really, you know, important for the movie.
Right.
That's the night I didn't have much sleep.
The ship's broken. We had to go.
Nobody gets hurt. Easy.
Hey! Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure.
I'm the captain now. You like a watch? Paul came to me and said, Paul Greengrass, the director, and said, just, you have to own the scene, you know, take it easy, you know, stay in control, you know.
Was I'm the Captain Now already in the script, or was that something that you came up with?
Well, I came out with that.
You did?
Yeah, because it was just, I became the character, you know. The best way for me to get that scene out was just to use a lot of imaginations and see what's the reasons, what moves this guy, you know. He's a really desperate guy that have nothing to lose.
So Paul gave you a lot of latitude, and he believed in you more than you did, right? So tell us a little bit about working with Paul Greengrass.
He was just a very calm guy, and, you know, he would tell me, you know, he would understand who I am, and, you know, he put me through training, and after that, you know, he would...
You all had to do some really rigorous training, right?
We did a lot of training of, you know, swimming. I had to learn how to swim. I had to learn how, you know, be on a skiff that's going fast.
Were you a swimmer beforehand?
No.
Not at all?
Not at all. He put me through all that, and now on the acting part, what he would do, he would take me and Tom to the side before the scene begins, and we would understand how the scene is being done, and we would do it. And he would always give me details if I stuck or, you know, I mess up, or, you know, he would always find another way.
What was the most difficult day on the set or the most difficult scene to shoot?
You know, we had difficulties all over.
Because it was water and because of just the environment itself, or other aspects?
The environment itself, I mean, that lifeboat.
I bet you never want to see a lifeboat again as long as you live, right?
That lifeboat.
Stop! Stop, what's going on in there? Just however many times it takes, pump it, and you're in the water and off you go.
Everyone who's seen this movie, what a fantastic performance that you and your friends did as the Somali pirates.
Yeah.
Did you surprise yourself at how good you were?
Actually, I was surprised, honestly. It's just because I would never watch the scenes after I recorded. When I watched the finished product, I was just shocked. You know, I had to watch it again.
Do you feel a responsibility to portray your culture on screen in a certain way?
What these people that, doesn't betray the Somali people at all. In every community or every country, there is the good and the bad. And if those 4 people, that desperate young men, what they did, I wouldn't expect, that to be framed on the whole Somali people.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It is a fantastic performance. We are all so excited to see where your career is going to take you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Great
Thank you for
work,
having me.
great performances, and again, wish you the best. Here's to the captain.
Cheers.
Cheers.
The captain.
To the ladies.
Katniss and Peeta are adjusting to life after their win at the Hunger Games.
You saved us. I know that. But I can't go on acting for the cameras and then just ignoring each other in real life.
But the rebellion has made them targets of the Capitol.
She's not who they think she is. And she has to be eliminated. I agree, but in the right way, at the right time.
As the next games begin, they must fight for their lives and survival of the districts in the Hunger Games, Catching Fire.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
I'm Sasha.
I'm Scott. We're here to review Catching Fire, the highly anticipated sequel to The Hunger Games. We've all just seen it. So, Sasha, what'd you think?
Ladies first.
Ladies first. Well, if I could be a lady, I would want to be Jennifer Lawrence because let's just say it right now. This girl is outstanding. It doesn't matter if she's covered in blue body paint, if she's brandishing a bow and arrow and being like the nouveau Joan of Arc, or if she's a manic housewife who's grieving her husband. She is so perfect, so great. I haven't read any of the books, so when I'm going into this, I don't really have expectations. I've never read a single word Suzanne Collins has written. However, when you have Michael Arndt, who did Little Miss Sunshine, and you have Simon Beaufoy, who wrote my favorite Danny Boyle movie on Slumdog, and 127 Hours, they did some great stuff together. I know that I have high expectations.
You two have a very simple task.
I never meant for anyone to get killed. He has to know that.
What are you talking about? Who has to know what?
Snow, he came to see me. He's worried about rebellion in the districts. He thinks that they don't believe our love story.
You know, Candace, you should have told me that before I went out there and tried to give these people their money.
I'm sorry, I didn't know what to do.
I agree. Jennifer Lawrence radiates on the screen. I think she was born to play Katniss. She's perfect in the role. I really did enjoy the first movie a lot. I thought it was a solid film.
I love Gary Ross, so for me...
And I think he did a great job of sort of doing a hybrid of Harry Potter meets Battle Royale. This film, I thought was even better, which I wasn't expecting. I thought Francis Lawrence brought a darker tone, and I know you don't agree with me,
Scott
I can tell.
Scott is shaking his
Sorry,
head.
Okay, I know I'm gonna be in a minority on this one, and fans, please don't kill me for
But
this.
you didn't like it.
I did not like Catching Fire.
That's shocking to me.
I thought it was too long.
It is too long.
Too depressing, it was too dark, and it was not fun. It took way too long to get to the games, which felt like a retreat of the first movie. If you didn't see the first movie, you're totally lost. It does not stand on its own.
But I can't think of any sequel that has come out recently where it could stand on its own. That's sort of the thing, is there's this expectation that people have read all of the books, love all of the books, have seen all of the movies. If you think about most of the movies where there's a second one or a third one, they all have this sense of, you already know this, we don't need to pander to you, but it is too long. I definitely agree, but that's Dark Knight phenomenon.
Well,
everything has to be 2.5 hours
I don't think it was
this
too
year.
long. I actually never looked at my watch. I thought it was almost maybe too short.
Too short? You want a 3-hour movie?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was better than the first one. I do agree that they took a little too long to get to the games. I would have liked more of a conclusion to the games themselves, but I know that we're setting up for other films, and I get that.
That was the ending was my one frustration because it's so blatantly set up.
But that's the books. I mean, you can't blame the movie for that.
Let's talk about this love
What
triangle.
love triangle?
Or lack thereof.
Yeah.
Let's say they're trying to go for the Twilight effect with Bella, Edward, and Jacob, which, you know, I didn't care for those movies either, but fans went crazy for the love triangle.
You haven't hurt people, Katniss. You've given them an opportunity. They just have to be brave enough to take it.
We have to go, Gail, before they kill us. They will kill us.
What about the other families? Huh? The ones who stay. What happens to them? People are looking at you, Katniss.
I don't want anyone looking to me.
Liam Hemsworth as Gale is in the movie for what, 10 minutes?
No,
and he spends less, and he gets whipped like what is this, 12 Years a Slave? I mean, it's very, very hard to watch. It's depressing. It's violent. I mean, who was this movie for?
But Peeta and Katniss have no real chemistry.
No,
I don't think they're
the weak link.
supposed to,
I will say
perhaps.
Hutcherson's the weak link of the love triangle, but I think Jennifer Lawrence makes it work.
Between Katniss and Peeta, Peeta looks like her little brother.
Yes, very little.
Like, there's no chemistry there whatsoever.
No.
And I completely agree that Jennifer Lawrence, I mean, she's so intense. She's crying all the time. And I think her performance, physically, she's game. She's up for it. But where is the range, the dynamic that she showed so well in Silver Linings Playbook and in Winter's Bone? I think she's a fantastic actress. But beyond the physical requirement to play Katniss, it's a one-note performance. And it didn't grab me.
Well, but
It
when
worked
you
for
look
me.
back, if you can look back at her versus What's-Her-Bucket from Twilight, come on, this
Well,
is
that's
a
true.
masterclass.
Yeah, absolutely.
But still, the movie didn't grab me. I was looking at my watch, and I'm like, I'm not getting this.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked by this because I never looked at my watch. I was in the whole story. I mean, I think this is, you talked about superior sequels. I think this is a superior sequel.
I felt excited to see the next two.
Yeah.
I actually
Oh, I
felt
wanna
like,
go home and
this
see
is
them right
exactly
now.
the way I expected it to end, and I'm excited now. I'm primed for two more.
The Hunger Games: Catching Fire is an excellent sequel that carries the flame lit from the first film and ignites it into a better movie than its predecessor. I say, see it.
Catching Fire should have been a superior sequel, but the odds are not in its favor. Skip it.
Thanks to impeccable casting and a confident new director, Catching Fire wins over audiences, even those who don't know what a Mockingjay is. I say, see it.
Well, we have 2 tickets here, which adds up to a stream it for The Hunger Games: Catching Fire. Sorry to bring you down. I know you loved it, but I did not.
I have a cold. It is very hard to get my brain motivated today. It's sludgy with snot.
That's getting cut from the show.
How many times am I going to say realistic in this review?
I think the amount of times you've said it is quite realistic.
Is it realistic?
It's really realistic.
Acorn TV, proud sponsor of Just Seen It, offers hundreds of hours of British mysteries, dramas, and comedies streaming commercial-free on demand. Learn about our 30-day trial at acorn.tv/PTV.